Okay, great. So we are now on the air. So welcome to our interview preparation class. Finally have everybody here, as we should, on air. So, Thomas, did you want to start?
Well, just to say hello to everybody, and I know it's not been an easy journey because we have had problems getting people into the actual Hangouts on there. This was partially due to the wrong link being posted and it being quite difficult. Google not making it particularly easy. But anyway, we're here today, so that is absolutely brilliant. And of course, interview preparation is one of those fascinating subjects. I did one a while back with Roberto, actually, and also a little bit with Marcos, who used to be regular attendants of attendees of Intenga, as you know. So interview, there are, in my opinion, some common patterns, and I did used to interview student nurses and also qualified nurses for their jobs. So I know a little bit about interviews, but I let Becky do the talking about interviews today, and hopefully we'll get also more interview preparation and practice in. For those people that are interested, that's always a very good subject to do. So.
Perfect. Do you want everyone to introduce themselves while we're here, or should I just start the class? What do you?
Oh, I think it's always nice to have to know who's here. You know who it is already, and they're regular customers of ours. So just say hello to them, and I probably don't have to introduce themselves, but say hello to them anyway.
Okay, well, I would like to say hello to everybody who's watching as well. We have 3 viewers right now. And so hello to Lucia, Jesse, we don't know if is listening or not, Garrett, Anna, and Ken. So hello and welcome to class today. I'm not sure, I don't know if I will share my screen today or not, but I have my questions here. And so the first thing you have to do when you go to a job interview is you have to know a little bit about the actual company first. That's the most important. You need to do a little bit of research to see, because they might ask you questions about the company. What do you think about what we've done in the past couple of years and things like that. So you need to be prepared. You also need to choose your clothing wisely. That's important because you don't want to go to a formal interview wearing shorts and a t-shirt. So you need to be prepared physically as well as mentally. You shouldn't be nervous, but you are trying to kind of sell yourself in that situation and say, hey, you know what, I'm perfect for this job, and this is what I can offer to your company. And so I do have some questions, some typical questions that they might ask you, and maybe we can practice some of that. I don't even remember my interview with Thomas, actually, so did I do okay? um, so the first thing is be on time. Okay, so don't show up late. You don't want that on your first day. Be early enough, but maybe not too early. Again, be presentable, so look nice and clean. Definitely shower before you go.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you have to go to the bathroom's taken care of. Maybe that you have some water with you because when you get nervous, your throat gets dry. Be really nice to everyone that you see in the office or wherever you're doing the interview. Don't use your phone all the time. So these are just little things and how you can kind of prepare yourself before you actually go in. And face the door where you have to go into maybe, so you're not kind of, giving them your back, they say in Spanish. So, you look kind of towards them. And when you go into the room, you can normally, well, it depends where you live, I would say shake hands to the person you're going to have the interview with. I think that shows respect. And there's also certain ways that you should shake your hand. You need to firmly grab their hand and, don't make it very loose or anything. So there's techniques here too. A little bit of everything. And so if you have a strong handshake, that might mean that you're prepared, you're ready for this, and you're not nervous. So a simple handshake does say a lot about you in that moment as well. Okay, so again, that's just how to kind of from when you're outside the building to when you get into the actual room. So does anyone have any questions about anything at all? Maybe do's or don'ts, things that you're not sure about?
I think with the firm handshake, a little bit of caution here, firm but not aggressive. Because some people kill your hands, and it's not always. And also, it does depend a little bit on, without wanting to appear to be sexist here, but whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. So yes, with a woman, it's acceptable to be slightly less firm, I think, for example, than maybe with too blokey kind of things going on. So there is a slight difference in maybe the way you want to approach that. But yes, it shows a certain amount. I think the important thing about it is no wet hands. Absolutely. I think it's important. You make me laugh, Lucia. I think it's important to be confident. That's the main point, and maybe also to keep eye contact with the person you're actually shaking hands.
Anna, what do you do if your hands are clammy? Bring a Kleenex and put it in your pocket, and right before you go into the room, put your hands in your pockets, grab that Kleenex, and take your hand out. So,
use some
but
talcum.
It happens too.
Use some talcum powder beforehand.
There's a person on the shoes. I actually have never had that happen. I don't have sweaty palms, so I suppose I've never thought about that. Practice in front of a mirror is a good, I suppose, opportunity if you'd like to at least think about what you're going to say, and be prepared for that. So you'll have to come in and they'll say, okay, maybe they already know your name. You have to maybe present yourself a little bit or introduce yourself, and then you'll get into the interview questions. Well, you're just maybe apologize, Anna, for those clammy hands, and that's basically all you can do. That's all I can think of to solve that. I'll make a joke of it, honestly. Things like that are in kind of embarrassing situations, just, oh, this happens all the time when I have an interview or something, make a joke of it. Then it's not uncomfortable for you or the person who's interviewing you. So, some of the tasks are, about their company or about you personally. Some people I know give you situations and say, how would you handle this? And so there's a lot of different ways that people might, have the interview. And so maybe just some basic questions might be, tell me what's important to you in a job. For me, for example, support. If I need help with something, I know I'm able to go to someone who can help me, or having my space to do what I need to do. But it depends on what the job is, and so there's a lot of factors here. It's not there's only one way to have an interview and that's it. There are many different ideas and things that we have to think about. And so another question might be, what most interests you about this job? Okay, is it something that you studied, something that you personally like? Is it a hobby? Explain that, and talk about different adjectives too. You're very excited to try this. Bring a handkerchief with you. That's the thing you put around your neck. Might absorb more. Again, they might ask you, we've been changing a lot as a company in the past 5 years. What do you think about that? And so that's when your knowledge of the company will be important. If you don't know much about it, then be honest. As I've always said in any interview class that I've done, make sure you are honest, because if they catch you in a lie, that's definitely not a great way to start your work experience with them. They want honest people, okay? But don't forget that. Always be honest. And if you have to be honest and it's not something great, well, just say that you're working on it. So your priorities, okay? A question they might ask you is, the most important thing for me is that the job is challenging, maybe. Okay, so what are your priorities when you're looking for a job? Now, I want it to be challenging enough that I'm learning and that I'm always, you know, what's the word? Getting my goals little by little. Um, and it's a good thing too is that they see that you want to learn. So that, for example, within Tenga, I had to learn how to use the classroom and things like that. And it actually wasn't difficult. But then there were, more things were added and the poll was added. And so little by little I had to learn some more things, and that was fine. And I think I did pretty good with that. So
You did. You did fine. You didn't shake hands, I have to say. So it's very
we
disappointing.
never met, Todd.
We've only met in the virtual world, Becky. So I guess in the virtual Skype kind of world and Hangouts, you wouldn't necessarily shake hands. So that's really good news for Anna and Garrett and whoever was having wet hands. So clammy hands, that was Anna. Sorry, Anna. Yes. So you'd be safe in an interview with Skype and Hangouts. So it's a good thing.
Always look presentable, at least from the shoulders up, is something I also recommend. I'm not wearing pajamas, by the way, today. I know Lucy has caught me in that a couple times. Anna, as far as money goes, I would wait until the end. Normally, a lot of people will talk about the job, and if they don't mention the money, at the end of the interview, they will normally say, "Do you have any questions for me?" And that's, it could be the hours, it could be the pay, how often you get paid. I know here in Spain everyone gets paid once a month. In the United States it's every 2 weeks normally. Sometimes it's every week. Sometimes it's the 15th and the 30th. And so, it depends. So those are things that I would wait until the end. They're going to explain to you what the job is and see if you're interested in that. And again, some people might mention the money, others might not, but definitely wait until the end.
And of course, some jobs have specific salaries attached to them anyway, so not all jobs are jobs where you can negotiate a salary. Some you can, but most of them that I'm familiar with, they would say whatever, 35,000 a year, or 25,000 a year, or 10,000 a year, whatever. So.
And at that point, if you're not necessarily satisfied with that, you can always say, well, are there opportunities for a promotion? Am I able to grow within this company? And that also makes it seem that you're interested and that you really are looking for a long-term position with this company. So that's also important. So again, it kind of depends on the situation.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? All right, well, maybe I'll continue with my... Yes?
Yeah, I mean, just to say, I mean, obviously, usually the first question that I'm familiar with is usually, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? It sounds such an easy question, but it actually is incredibly hard. And it's the one question, they don't want to know your life history. They don't want to know I was born in whatever, in Texas, and then went, and went to whatnot school, and then went to university. They're not interested in that. It has to relate to your job. That's the important thing. So don't waffle there. There's an interesting statistic that probably some of you know, but you have basically 3 minutes to persuade them to take you as an employee in an interview. It's a very short span, and they will make up their mind very, very quickly. That's not to say people can't change their mind after that, but on the whole, it's kind of like the 3-minute rule from when you walk into the door to sitting down to maybe having a sip of water or whatever. So these 3 minutes are crucial. So the first question very, very often is about telling something about yourself, and don't waffle there. Think about it carefully beforehand. Make sure it relates to the job. They're not interested in your life history, usually. Well, I wasn't. So when I interviewed.
In those first 3 minutes?
Yeah, well, you did go a little bit too far, Becky, in terms of... No, I'm only kidding.
What did I say? I don't even
you don't remember, do you?
I really don't. I remember See,
I
in
think it
Tango
was
learning in Tango.
absolutely. We did it on Skype, I think.
Well, I think it was definitely a connection. There was a connection by the end of the interview, at least. So I think that went
There
well.
was. So
Almost
that's
a
what's
year.
important. Engage with the people and see how you can get on with the people. So that can be quite important. And in terms of career prospects within the company, you mentioned the other one really that's related to that is kind of training needs and what kind of training do it shows that you have that you want to develop in the company and that you want to move forward in the company. So that's quite important. Usually at the end. Not in all interviews again, but in most interviews you get the opportunity to ask questions. This is an important part, so you must always ask questions during that time, because if you say no, I don't have any question, it kind of suggests that you might not be that interested to the people. And even though they might have already decided, I mean, so it's always things about training needs and what kind of opportunities do you have and blah blah blah. I mean, what you don't want to ask is, when I can I become CEO, because that's probably not going to go down too well. So again, be careful there. But yeah.
I mean, and honestly, if they basically talked about training, they've talked about money, and they've talked about the hours, etc. At the end, and they ask you if you have any more questions, and you really don't, just say, you know what, I think you've answered all of the questions that I came here with. I look forward to hearing from you again in the future, and it sounds like a great opportunity. Something like that. I mean, that at least, because it's happened to me that I didn't have any questions, and then I thought, oh wait, I did have questions, and I didn't answer, and I didn't ask them, and so maybe before you go in, another good thing to prepare would be to write down those questions. When am I going to start? What are the dates? What are the times? When do I get paid? Write all of those down at first before you go in. Then you're at least prepared. I think that's something I've personally learned, and because later I think, they never told me how much I was getting paid. And that's a big factor too. So
Absolutely.
good. Thomas, do you have any input? You have a lot more experience interviewing people than I do.
No, I think you've covered quite a good ground. I mean, as I said, it is about presenting yourself in a confident way. Some of the things you've already mentioned, which are quite important, is make sure you prepare your interview really well. Make sure that most jobs, again, not all jobs, but have job specifications. That means they actually almost tell you what the questions are going to be. As long as you read the job spec, a lot of employers will pretty much relate their questions to the job spec. So make sure you study the job spec. Practice with somebody if you have a chance to even if it seems a bit silly and unfamiliar. But I used to practice when I went for senior posts. And I found it very useful, and so just practice with people and see how that goes. Particularly, I mean, in your case, I mean, the people that are here today, I mean, it's not your native language. It's a second language, so it is much harder because there's things like accent and the way you intonate things and the way you come across. So yeah. So practice makes perfect.
Sorry, Thomas, I have one question. Is there something that you've experienced maybe multiple times or a couple times that people have done that are actually not helpful, like kind of the do's and don'ts? I mean, we focused on the do's and some don'ts, but are there any don'ts that you would recommend to people? Make sure you do not do this in an interview?
I think where all of the people that I interviewed and I didn't take probably fell down was on simply not having prepared the interview. And you could really tell that they simply could not answer the questions. Yes, nerves, but no, people deal with nerves in different ways. For example, Anna was saying she gets quite nervous. I can see through that very quickly because everybody's nervous at an interview, and believe you me, the people interviewing are often nervous as well. So it's not just the actual people being interviewed. So my advice really is if you come across as somebody who's fairly knowledgeable about the field of the job you're applying for, then you have a fairly good chance of getting it. But it's really, most of the people I had to turn down, whether that's student nurses or staff nurses, simply, you know, I worked for a specialty called the crisis team, and we treated people, acute mentally ill people in the community. So people needed to know about what it means to treat people in the community. They needed to know about specific, you know, they needed to know about illnesses. They needed to know what you do in an emergency situation where maybe somebody was trying to commit suicide. These are specific knowledge things to my job. And then the reason people didn't get a job often was simply because they couldn't answer the simplest of questions that you would expect of somebody. It was quite a speciality, what we did. So you needed to have read a little bit about, you know, and if you work for an acute ward or rehabilitation or maybe child psychiatry, they're all specialities, and you know, you need to know your stuff in that speciality if you want to apply for that job. And that is relevant to any job that you're going to, you know, if you apply as an English teacher, you need to have obviously the qualification for it. You need to have the grammar points and all of that, but you also need to know how to teach. You know, like any other teacher, whether history or whatever they teach, they need to have some idea. So every job has specific points that you need to address. And as I said, everybody who I interviewed, the nerves wasn't, I mean, there were a couple of people who just simply couldn't handle it, but I would say 80%, 90% of the time, the nerves is not a problem. It's just people not knowing their stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Well, again, and I had mentioned, you know, to research the company a little bit and, you know, the position too, because maybe if it's something that you've never done before, but you're interested in doing, maybe you just, you know, got your degree and you don't really have a lot of experience. You know, just because you don't have experience doesn't mean that you can't do the job very well. I had zero experience with, you know, teaching online like this, and obviously
You could have fooled me. You could have fooled me, Becky. In terms of yeah, preparation, another thing that psychologically I think can be quite useful at times is to actually go to the company beforehand. Actually have a look around the physical building, get some idea. It's good in two ways, because one, you really do not want to be late for the interview, so it's good to know where you are actually going beforehand. If you have to, you know, if you're suddenly panicking, going, oh my God, I have no idea where I am, and you know, I'm completely lost, and it's like one of those, you know, one of those buildings that has a million outhouses and back houses and God knows what, and it's number 532. You can find 31 and 33, but you can't find 32. You know, it's always the case. So if you have been before, that all those kind of anxieties you can cut out. Plus, you can get a little bit of an idea what the company is about, what it looks like, what the people look like, and stuff like that. I find it helps with anxiety and sort of just calming him a bit down. Obviously, it completely depends on how important the job is to you and stuff like that. But I find it very useful to occasionally turn up.
I think that's a good idea too. I've had, oh yeah, I know where that is, I know where that is, and then come to find out I'm in the area, and you know, you arrive late, then you're calling them on the phone and you're trying to figure out where you are, and then you end up being nervous anyway. So
Right. I mean, that's my point, yeah.
one of the things too, because Garrett's actually mentioned this not a couple classes ago, that I have my lip pierced, and I didn't know that she didn't know that. So when I always went to an interview without the piercing in, and then I would say, you know, just so you are aware, I do have a lip piercing. Is that going to affect my job? And in one job it did, and so every time I worked, I just had to take it out. Tattoos on that, going towards that side too. These days it depends on the company, depends if you're going to be like the face of the company, where your tattoos are. I do have some tattoos and they're all covered, and they're able to be covered. And so that's obviously why I did that as well. But those are important things too. So I just thought it was funny that Garrett didn't realize I had my lip pierced. So I guess she
You
sees
do.
me I'm bigger here now.
Yes, the screen is much bigger than on the big blue button, so
Yeah, it is.
you are so visible, aren't you? There, you're it's so in your face. It's brilliant.
It's terrible.
So that's interviews. Let me just see, Ken. Do you have any questions, Ken? Because we've been railroading you into sort of bombarding you with information, really.
Yeah, I don't know the proper strength of the handshaking. Maybe too small, not so too small.
I'll be right
We
over,
can
Ken.
Yeah,
we
I
can do
really.
it. We can do a digital handshake.
Yeah,
How
kind
is
of.
that?
Holding an
Yeah.
apple tight enough that it doesn't fall out of your hand, but tight enough that it doesn't move.
Yeah.
I see.
Yes.
And I used to clean up my hand beforehand. Yeah.
The other thing about the handshake, and not every interview you will have a handshake, because some people may ask you to sit down straight away. But when there is a handshake, also make sure that you have some kind of eye contact, because it does show confidence. It's no good, pretending that you're saying hello to the Queen, for example, and that wouldn't necessarily work on bowing down in a job interview. That it would go down very well with the Queen, but it wouldn't necessarily go down very well with your employer. So, yeah.
Well, he's from Japan, so maybe.
Oh yeah,
That's what-
absolutely. Cultural differences. We haven't
That's
mentioned
what I'm-
cultural differences because you know where you're from in Japan, things might be completely different. We're talking really about Europe and America, I suppose, Western cultures on the
Yeah, I
whole.
think handshaking is not so common
No.
as a greeting here. So just a slide ball. And in a job interview, maybe at the beginning, the applicant, when the applicant enter the room, maybe knock knock and enter. And we do slide ball, not so deep ball for queen or something, but yeah, maybe, and maybe I don't shake hand as far as I remember. We don't shake hands. Yeah, we just bow each other or something like that.
Well, there are, of course, massive cultural differences, and we have pretty much come from, I mean, me more from a British point of view, I suppose, and Becky more from, though the similarities, there's so many similarities. But yes, absolutely, cultural differences are massive, and I'm sure I would prepare differently if I'd go for a job interview in Japan.
Yeah, maybe for foreign people, maybe Japanese, know that what shaking hand means. So you can shake a hand because nobody, think that bad actually. Yeah. They know that it's a good manner. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question.
Very good, very good. Yeah, very good question.
Thank you.
Anna, what about you? Do you have anything you would like to add apart from clammy hands? And which, yeah, it's a difficult one. I probably would have one of those citrus wipes on me that dries up your hands beforehand. But do you have any questions, Anna?
No, not really. Sorry.
No, no problem at all. No problem at all. I was just thought I'd ask you. And I assume, Lucia, you've interviewed a few people for your fitness center. So some probably very fit men. And some chefs as well, probably, because I've noticed on your Facebook that occasionally you serve health food drinks and stuff like that. So,
I think that's her going out.
Oh, is it? Okay. No, there was a bar with health food and health fruit juices. I thought that maybe that was your gym, your
Actually, we had an interview lately, and the instructor was too fat.
Was too fat.
Yeah.
That is fattest.
Yeah. So he didn't.
He didn't get the job.
No. I can add when you have an interview, you do not cross your arms, have a good posture. I mean, yeah.
Body language.
We didn't talk. Absolutely, we didn't talk about body language. Very important.
Yeah, for us, it's really important. Body language is really important. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to cross your legs and you don't want to cross your arms.
Yeah,
Not like I'm sitting here like this.
Yeah.
As you can see, I'm very tense now. Lucia's interviewing me. So, no, absolutely, body language. You've got to present. You kind of trying to find a mixture between being comfortable, and not appearing too tense. But it's okay if you're a little bit tense. As I said, for me, it was always more important that they could handle the knowledge and the questions. Actually, that they could actually answer the question. These are things. Sure, if somebody's very timid, very nervous. And comes across as not confident at all, especially in psychiatry where they had to react to situations very, very quickly sometimes. That would concern me because I know they needed to be able to work under pressure. And if I was with a colleague, for example, at somebody's home and somebody, which has happened, pulled out a knife, for example, once, I need to know that my colleague knows how to run. So, I needed to know that they had the confidence and that they're quick thinking enough to say, okay, it's time to get out.
It's interesting. I suppose it depends on the job too.
It does, yes.
If it's an office job, you don't need to worry about how big the person is or not.
Well, I mean, I guess you would want somebody slim and fit in a gym, wouldn't you? I don't know. I don't see why somebody fat can't give the same instructions. But Lucia, I think you're just fattest.
No, not at all.
Well, Anna actually has a question now, so thanks, Lucia, for that. And Anna?
No, it's not a question. It's because when Tomas asked me, I couldn't think about anything. But when Lucia was talking about body language, I remember a documentary I saw once. If you mimic the person who is interviewing you, the person's body language, you are more likely to get the job. Like if the person, how can I say, smile, you have to smile as well. If the person gets close to you, you have to do the same, and so on. So this way, you are more likely to get the job. Just a tip.
It's actually called neuro-linguistic programming. It's quite an interesting way. I don't completely agree with you, Anna, but because I know quite a bit about neuro-linguistic programming. But yes, it is basically trying to adapt in pretty much every way they're reacting to, for example, the pitch and the tone of the voice. But don't forget, when you're not native, that might be quite difficult. So there is an element in pitching yourself the same way they are. And if you want to know more about that, we could do a full lesson on neuro-linguistic programming. It is a very interesting way. I used it a lot. Not in interviews, but I used it quite a lot with clients, where it was far more useful, and it's very good for de-escalation I found with particularly very difficult clients. So, but it's fascinating. You're absolutely right. There is a strong element of trying to react in maybe similar fashion, trying to pitch, have your tone of voice the same way they have, and smiling at the right times when they're smiling, etc. There is an element of that that can certainly help in interviews. I do agree with that.
Interesting. I was thinking mirror image, but you definitely would have to give that class.
Yes, yeah. Well, you can do just mirror image, or you as I said, I don't want to go into detail here, but there's a technique called neurolinguistic programming, which is quite interesting. So you can all look it up. NLP, short NLP. You can all look it up on the internet if you want. You might find it interesting. The principle is simple. The actual implementation is actually quite skillful and difficult. So not something you will learn very quickly. It took me certainly quite a while to use some of the techniques.
Interesting. Well, good. We'll be waiting for that class, Thomas.
Okay. We'll have one on neurolinguistic programming. Excellent. Okay. But I've noticed, Becky, we are actually coming to an end.
We are.
Is that something you've noticed?
Yes, it is something I've noticed as well. We have like this one viewer that comes in and comes out, and so before we officially stop broadcasting, thanks for those that did watch live and then non-live as well. So another who joined.
And people, of course, now can watch, and I've done it with pop-ups, and we've just finished that today as well. And the recordings are now, hopefully, you can watch the recordings as well on Intenga. That was finished today. Jesse finished that just now. So it's always wonderful to have you. I hope we have a few more people as well again, and I will be around a bit more and hopefully post a few lessons. So keep an eye out for things, tell people, communicate. The chat function on Intenga still works. I did repair it, so it is back in action, so you might want to have your mobile phones on or wherever you have it installed. And hope to see you all soon, and wonderful to see you all.
Great. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now, and so thank you very much again, and hopefully we'll see you soon.